code of Sukkot. Okay, so as you can see in Sukkot here, during the search of the Bible code, you can see the word right here, rejoice. So during this time of shifting, I would call it change, moving, transitioning, it's a rejoicing time. And you got the word here, happy Sukkot. 5781, which is 2021, that's this year according to Jewish calendar. For those who may miss the earlier broadcast explaining this, that the Jewish calendar started in Rosh Hashanah, and our calendar is still going on till January of next year. So we're in the Western calendar is 2020. The Jewish calendar is already in 2021, also known as 5781. So you got the word here, faith, right? Festival of the gathering, that's another word for Sukkot. You got the word Messiah here, confirming that this year is the Messiah, and I'll go further on that. You got the word tabernacle, and you got the word happiness. So during this time of transition, it's a happy time. So be happy. So that's pretty much on the Bible code on the Sukkot, or Sukkot, sorry, getting all mixed up on there. I want to show you next the interesting thing on the Messiahs, the years. I call it the years of Messiah, according to Rabbi. Now, he just put out this one here is actually the missing dates where the Messiah was coming, of the word Messiah approaching the earth or visiting us. As you can see here, there's some dates here. You got 5775, and then it says will not be redeemed, meaning that it's been canceled, or the Messiah decided not to come on that date, because you got the word Messiah here. Redeem in the time, redemption in time. You got 5778, and then again, no Messiah. It's been rejected, decided not to come. Declaration will not be redeemed, impurity, reason, and then you got in 5776 here as well. So I don't know why the dates are all scattered here, but that's the way it's written. So anyways, now to show you these dates, I want to explain some of the significance on these dates, because it's very interesting. By the way, the 5775, I believe that's 2015. So 2015, then you got 2016, 2017, and then 2018, right? Yeah. So here are some of the significant things that happened, starting with 2018. As you know, during that time, that was, 2016, sorry. Just to clarify. So significance of the 2016, there was a hard year for Israel, because there was a separation on there. You lost part of the land. You know the story on that, so you go through the history on there. But also, it was the rise of Trump. So you knew he got elected as president in November. So there was a rising of that in a lot of events. So there were some interesting things here. Now the final word, I would say the year. Okay, also that here's another graph on the Bible codes. Just give it that. 5776 here, the waiting of son of David. 7581 here, son of Jesse. Israel, sons of redemption here. So there was no sign of Messiah, but he was supposed to come, but he decided not to come, in other words. Now the final one, which is this year, 5781. Now this is something to take a look at it. Because this year is a prophetic year. This is the only one that actually has the word when the time of God. When the time of God, Messiah, 5781, which is this year. We're in a Jewish calendar. You got the word end, and then you got the word on time. So that's a very strong Bible code confirmation for Messiah's appearance. And as you know, since of Rosh Hashanah, the Jews, according to the rabbi, they said that the Jews are currently meeting with the Messiah now and having secret meetings, according to the rabbis are saying. And look in the past archives and stuff, and it talks about it and stuff like that. Not what I'm saying, but what according to the articles has been saying on it. Very strange time. And as you know, with the Messiah, according to the Jewish, it's not the Messiah that we seek, which is Jesus Christ. And their Messiah is actually the Antichrist. It's the son of perdition. It's the Antichrist. Because when the Antichrist appears, he's going to bring peace, right? As you know, according to the scriptures in the book of Revelation, Daniel, he's going to bring peace. But then the peace won't last. I think it says something about 7 years, but also we had the peace treaty, by the way, and or the beginning of it or something like that. They're saying it's not the peace treaty, it's the beginning. But it's around the time figure anyway. So the rise of the Antichrist, the events that will happen, there'll be peace, but also there's going to be the time of building the third temple, as you know. And currently that's being said as we are right now, as we're talking. That's being talked about, designed, and want to pass through, going. And they've got the heifer and everything, so that's another story. And then you've got Armageddon. You've got Gog and Magog, and that's a different story on that. So that's supposed to happen during this time as well. And then somewhere between that, you have the rapture, which I believe, the rapture will happen before the appearance of the Antichrist, and all these things will happen according to Revelations about the Church of Philadelphia, and 2 Thessalonians chapter 4, where it talks about we will meet him and the air will be transferred. Matthew 24 talks about it. It said one will be in the field, the other one will be taken away, one will be in bed, and all that stuff. You know that story stuff. So also, which is interesting during this time, I just want to clarify, they obviously the rapture didn't happen, Rosh Hashanah didn't happen, and Feast of Trumpet, but during this time of Sukkot, also known as the Feast of the Tabernacles, which is the seventh feast, by the way, and prophetically 7, as I said, is a prophetic number of completion.
My name is Katrin. I'm 9 years old and I am in 4th grade. The reason why I made this video is because I want to tell the message that I got from God and the dream that I got from God. And my mom will help me out if I forget some parts of my dream. Oh yes, and by the way, I'm from Indonesia. So let's start off with the message that I got from God. So on September 18, before I slept, I heard God spoke to me. On October 10, there will be a big disaster. And that night I had a very long dream, the fourth one of the same dream. And the dream was, I saw a big dark blue microchip that went right past by me, my sister, and my mom like this. And it went through the hallway and it landed on my dining table. And from the front door, Bill Gates, Dr. Fauci, and 3 guards came and said we should vaccine these people here. And then we got raptured. It was on a new year and I was in a Zoom class. My teacher said, grade 4, please make a line. And that's how I know I was still in grade 4.
How do you know that it was on a new year?
Because I heard a loud voice of the shofar. It was long and loud.
And then what happened?
And then we were raptured.
What did you see?
And then tell me, What did Jesus tell you that time when he was telling you that he's going to come and fetch you or something like that one day?
One day, Mama kept on asking and asking and asking. When she kept. So yeah, and I asked, and I decided I wanted to ask Jesus when was the rapture gonna be, and he said 2020, and then so I like that, but then she did not tell us which month, so I thought about it, and I've always had this feeling inside of me that it would happen on Christmas.
Yep, and Silver Serpent is live, Adam.
Silver Serpent, what's going on?
Hello. Hey, how you doing, Adam?
Hey, let's call it aced. As far as when a president is forcefully removed and perishes due to someone else's hands, we'll call that aced, okay?
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to talk about the four. I mean, everybody knows two of them very well, Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy. And the other two were James Garfield and William McKinley. All four presidents had something in common. They wanted to give the power of money over to the people, and they wanted to cut out I'm getting ready for it.
Now, can you clarify on that? I guarantee you, a lot of people are saying, well, can you say anything about what you do?
Well, I'll tell you what I've done in the past is I've been involved in law enforcement. I was a police officer in Maryland. I go way back to when I was running around with the DC Sniper event. I eventually learned of things to come. I ended up out in Kentucky in 2007 because I knew that I had to get off the East Coast. Knew that I was told to get off the coastlines. I ended up policing out here for a while, and then just recently, not too long ago, went back to being a private contractor. And right now, I am in an area where I'm sitting and protecting property or an area that will be a major, whatever you want to call it, for events to come.
And you're doing that for work.
I know for.
So you're.
Oh, what's that?
Are you saying you're acting security for an area that is believed to be an area that will have events to come?
I'm going to tell you that I am overlooking an area that is going to be used for something that I don't know what it's going to be used for, but it's considered a critical area. And there are going to be several critical areas right now. And you should know that our government has more private contractors running around than you've ever seen. You should know that.
So,
but
let me ask you one more question. As far as when was it, or how many years ago? And I know you're probably not going to want to say a lot of things, but how many years ago were you told to stay off the coast?
I learned around 2006, and it was just. Let me just put it this way: when I learned about it, I would say I learned the truth then. I mean, there's no doubt that there's something coming in from space, and I was told that back in 2006. I was told that it was going to cause major turmoil across the world, but the coastlines on both sides were going to be affected in the U.S. And there was going to be, and I was told that I had time to move, and I made my decision to make that move because I didn't want to wait until it came. I was always told, let me put it this way, I was always told that in 2021, in the middle of 2021, that there would be a supreme being that steps foot on this planet. And what we're seeing right now is that the ones who are in control are preparing the way for that. And I know that the system's going to crash here around the world. Our economy, the economic system around the world, is going to crash before the end of this year. And people are going to be held in limbo until around March or April of 2021. And I also was told that everything that you're going to see from now until the middle of 2021 will be man-made events. The real events that are coming won't happen until end of 2021 all the way to 2024. And those events are not going to be man-made, and that's what petrifies these elites, these politicians. They know what's coming, and they're going to literally just throw out, they're going to try to make you believe that they're in control when they're going to be losing control after about middle of 2021. You're going to see huge mega quakes. You're going to see huge explosions from volcanoes. You're going to see all kinds of stuff. This is where you see that Navy map will most likely start to form about middle of 2021 and 2022.
Can I ask you, what do you think when they talked about a Muamua specifically?
I can tell you that right now there is a great war going on in the heavens, and what you'll see coming down here on this planet is pieces of what's going on up there. And I believe that the technology that's above us is not like below here. It may look like a rock in space, but it's actually made with a technology that is beyond us. And this supreme being, I was told when he enters, I was told it was not a he or a she. It was a being. And when it enters upon this earth, it will perform great miracles, because it's so far intelligent and just so supreme that we will be in awe, and many will call it the Savior. Many will believe it, and we will be in total, I tell you this, from now until March, the events that are going to happen will be man-made, and we will be in total distraught around the world, and we will bend our knees to whatever can save us. So I'm telling people, get yourself ready, because there's going to be all kinds of stuff. They have this planned out. If plan A doesn't work, they'll go to B, and if that doesn't work, they'll go to C. But they have all kinds of things, and they're going to clear the coastlines. They know what's coming. There's going to be forced migrations out of cities, but they're going to do it. They're going to do it, and you're going to do it, because you're going to see the destruction coming, and it's going to be a man-made event.
We know that Revelation is written in a Hebraic style, which means we're going to learn a story about the end times, and it's going to be told to us via symbols and imagery. And part of the Hebraic style is to layer things on top of each other. So when we're looking at Revelation chapter 12, we see the sign of the woman in Revelation 12, 1 and 2. This is an astronomical alignment that took place over the Feast of Trumpets in 2017. That astronomical alignment gave us a date to start the 7 years. That was over the Feast of Trumpets in 2017. Okay, so not only is this sign giving us a date, it's also part of a story that we're going to look at here in just a minute. There is a second sign too. That's the sign of the dragon. And let's just take a look at that in Revelation chapter 12, starting with right around verse 3. And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great red dragon, with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 diadems upon his heads. And his tail swept down 1/3 of the stars of heaven and cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, who was about to bear a child, that he might devour her child when she brought it forth. And she brought forth a male child, one who is to rule all the nations, with a rod of iron. But her child was caught up to God and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared by God in which to be nourished for 1,260 days. All right. There is a sign of the dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns. He casts 1/3 of the stars to the earth. Okay. The child is born. It's a man-child. The child is caught up to God and to his throne. The woman flees into the wilderness for 1,260 days. The sign of the dragon is also giving us a date. This is the sign of Draco. And every year there's a meteor shower that takes place during the month of Tishri, the 7th month, the same month as the Revelation 12 sign in the Hebrew calendar. And the Draconid meteor shower happens right over the Feast of Tabernacles. What we're learning is that this Draconid meteor shower is giving us a date as well. The dates for that are October, right around 6 through 10. Okay, so the dates for that meteor shower are October 6th through 10th. That's when this happens. So the sign of the dragon is pointing to the Feast of Tabernacles, which is still in the 7th month of Tishri, the month where the woman is. Okay, so that is a date that we're given. It's over the Draconid meteor shower. In this year, it'll be October around 6th through 10th. So the story is about Israel. It's the story of Christ who came from Israel. He's the man-child. It's the story of how the remnant of Israel will need to flee into the wilderness. And it's also the story of our glorification and our rapture. All of those things are layered into the story. Okay, and I'm not going to write down what all the story is, but because this stuff is layered, we're going to learn more than one thing. Okay, we don't just run over the verse and hop over it. We actually have to dig into it and dig out some more layers. So we also know that part of the story is the story of the birth of a child, and it's a male child. Okay. And if you understand the whole idea of a male child, you know that he's born and then on the 8th day he's circumcised. So what we're looking at here is an 8-day interval, with the first day having significance and the 8th day having significance. The first day is the birth of the child. The 8th day is when the child is brought into a covenant relationship, okay, with the people of Israel. Okay, we know it's a male child. Okay, the male child is actually Christ. He's one who is to rule all nations with a rod of iron. In other words, he hasn't received that yet when we see him as the male child. And then there's the child, that's the teknon, and that's you and me. We're actually seen as being one with Christ. And on an 8th day, the male child and the child will be caught up to God and to his throne. Okay, we're meant to see these as one entity. Okay, so the way we are to look at this, if we were to graph the whole idea of the birth of a child, the child would be born. Okay, then we have 7 days. And then the child would be circumcised and named. Okay, that's the 8th day. Now, that is really the important day if you're a baby boy in Israel. That's a huge celebration. It's a big celebratory day. Of course, the day you're born is great, but this is the big day right here if you're a male child. So those of you who've been following me, you understand I'm in the process here of discovery, and I'm just sharing with you my discoveries in the Word of God. What I notice about how this works, though, is Once you have an aha moment and you're willing to think about things differently, then there is a whole new door that opens up of understanding things that you couldn't see before because you were always looking through this other filter. So the filter that I was always looking at this through was that my glorified self would never have anything to do with the next group of Christians or believers who were coming after me. I mean, even up until just a few months ago, it never occurred to me because I was so steeped in, we're raptured out of here, okay? We're raptured out of here, and then the next group is on the scene, and like we don't have anything to do with each other, okay? But that's not how the Bible talks about that at all. And it gradually became clearer to me. Another thing is that the birth of the child and the rapture of the child are not the same thing. The birth has to do with glorification. That's when we get our new bodies. Okay? And our rapture is actually where we're being transferred from here to there. Okay, it's a transfer event. Okay, we're going from here to there. Okay, we're going to a new place. So to be glorified is to get a new body. It's to get that resurrection body, that eternal body, that glorified body that's like Christ's body, that when we see him, we'll be like him because we'll see him as he is, kind of body. This is a spiritual body. We don't want to be unclothed, that is, be a spirit with no body. We want to be further clothed, that is, have our glorified body. So this is an 8-day deal, okay? And we know that it happens over the Feast of Tabernacles with the meteor shower happening right in this time frame, okay? It actually could start sooner than that, and it can go later. But this is when the sign of the dragon is, okay? When the Draconid meteor shower happens, and it's over the Feast of Tabernacles, where we have this story of a child being born, and then over Tabernacles, there's 7 days with an 8th day at the end. This fits the pattern for glorification and for rapture, okay? It both by dates and by the story. So the Feast of Tabernacles has a date associated with it. It's over the Draconid meteor shower, okay? And we know that it has to do with the birth of a child. It's a 7 days with an 8th day, okay? The Feast of Tabernacles is 7 days long with an 8th day at the end, okay? Is there another happy occasion that's 7 days long with something that happens on the 8th day? Well, yes, there is. And this is a wedding, okay? The Jewish wedding, the Hebrew wedding ceremony is a 7-day long feast, after which the bride and groom go to their new home. So the bride has to put on her wedding garment. Okay, the bride has to put on her wedding garment. In our case, our wedding garment is our glorified body. This is our new, beautiful, awesome, fabulous, never get sick, never die, perfect perfection body. It's a body of glory. Okay, it's glory. To be glorified is to have this wedding garment put on. In the illustration of the baby, that is when you're born. Okay, in the illustration of a wedding, this is when you receive your wedding garment. This is when you have your beautiful clothes. And then there is 7 days of celebration, but the celebration is not in the bride and groom's home. It's in a venue. It's somewhere else. It's not at home because they go home on the 8th day. So there is a celebration, and it's with other people who are excited for them and excited with them. So the 144,000 of Israel, as well as perhaps some Gentiles too, they're going to be considered the guests, because they have not yet received their wedding garment, which they will get later on, okay? Because they are a part of the bride of New Jerusalem, which is being constructed in heaven. So the analogy breaks down in that present day believers, plus the 144,000, plus the overcomers, plus the martyrs, are all part of the bride of Christ, the ultimate New Jerusalem city that we will all live in. But for the sake of the illustration, we're just going to talk about the need for a wedding garment, a glorious wedding garment, being present in a venue that's not your home for 7 days, celebrating with other people. And after that, the bride and groom go home. And in our case, we'll be caught up with Christ into heaven to be in our new home. All of this 7 days on the earth, okay? I've gone back and forth between 10 days, during the 10 days of awe when we would be glorified, not seeing that the whole tabernacle thing. It's like this big aha moment here, okay? So I hope you can see that once you open the door to a new understanding, all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of other layers of things that show up. It's pretty awesome. So we know that this 7-day Feast of Tabernacles, with this 8th day at the end when the bride and groom go to their real home in the Father's house, this also is a part of the whole idea of tabernacles. And remember, the bride stands under a chuppah, a tabernacle. The bride and groom are in a tabernacle, a temporary place, okay, till they go to their permanent home. So it also is part of a wedding. Now, when the groom comes to get the bride, it's usually at night. And he comes to get her. She's expecting it, okay? She's kind of expecting that he'll be there. She doesn't know exactly when, but it will be during the night. And I think it's really important to get this understanding of darkness, because that is kind of going to fit into another layer of this story.